Happy Monday. How are you doing? Good to see you again. Thanks for being here every weekday between 8 and 9:30 or so. It's a general time that I upload these every weekday morning. So what we're doing, for those of you who don't know, we are reading from verse by verse and then stopping to channel messages from Jesus. The reason why Jesus is because this is a Christ-conscious text. It's a sacred text with a lot of that whole concept of oneness within it. Written by Mary Perron, A Course of Love was dictated to her by Jesus himself. A beautiful time in her life, and I'm grateful that she chooses to extend this beautiful gift to us. It's helped me a lot, so I thought I would share it with you. I'm Pamela Aaralyn, a mystic and channel of Christ-conscious beings, and I love this book very much. So I hope you'll enjoy whatever channelings Jesus chooses to impart today with us as well. Today we are on page 24, about midway down, 2.16, for those of you following along with your own text. All right, let's get going. It says, "You have not sufficiently reversed your thinking, or your heart would not still be troubled." The reversal has not occurred because you separate mind and heart and think you can involve one without involving the other. You believe that to know with your mind is a learning process that stands apart from all else that you are. Thus you can know without that knowing being who you are. You think you can love without love being who you are. Nothing stands apart from your being. Nothing stands alone. All your attempts to keep things separate are but a reenactment of the original separation made to convince yourself that the separation actually occurred. He stops us here. He says, what if all the stories of your past aren't exactly what you call truth? In your reality, there are stories that appear true or false, right or wrong. They're just stories, which makes all of them untrue. They're beautiful. You want to feel a degree of true or false, but let's not call it true or false. Let's call it right thinking. Better yet, let's call it helpful thinking or unhelpful thinking, as opposed to true or false stories or true or false thinking. Truth does not lie in your world because separation isn't true, and all of your thinking is conditioned upon it, upon that separation, which makes your world, your thoughts, untrue. Love is the only truth, but the mind must remember it and be reconditioned to it. All thoughts that are conditioned from these falsehoods within your stories and cultures that carry them down, all of these thoughts must be reversed if you wish for contentment, if you wish for peace. It's a big statement, if you wish for, he says. He said, what I mean by that is many of you will not. The mind rebels with the teachings of the Christ. The mind often rebels because it tells you you'd be safer, more comfortable in what you know. And as long as you feel that's working for you, you continue forth with that until you can't. Okay, let's continue on. 2.17 says, "You do not stand separate and alone. At these words, your heart rejoices and your mind rebels." Your mind rebels because it is a stronghold of the ego. Your thought system is what has made the world you see, the ego, its constant companion in its construction. Yet your mind too rejoiced in the learning of all the teachings that have brought you here, congratulating itself on a feat that brought it rest. It is from this rest that the heart begins to be heard. Just as the Holy Spirit can use what the ego has made, the ego can use what the mind has learned but has not integrated. He stops us here and he says, this means the mind that you only remember at this time, for it takes effort to undo the mind in order to remember the heart. Well, the mind is useful. The mind is useful because the Spirit can use the creation of ego that you have made, can use only what it has integrated from heart. It cannot use thoughts that are false. It only believes that it can and continues to hold to that false belief until it is done with the holding, until the hands are heavy, like holding a large, heavy boulder, until one day you're tired. This is just how the mind works for everyone, for I included, from birth until age 30. Did you believe that I was born with a remembrance of love? No. I had to walk the walk of ego just like you. And continuing on in 2.9, it says, until you are what you have learned, you leave room for the ego's, what a weird word, machinations. Just like movements like a machine. Once you are what you have learned, there is no room in which the ego can exist, and banished from the home you made for it, it slowly dies. Until this happens, the ego takes pride in what the mind has acquired, even unto the greater peace and contentment offered by your learning. It can and does see itself as better and stronger and more capable of worldly success. It would use all you have learned for its own motivations and pat you on the back for your new abilities. Without your vigilance, it may even seem to have become stronger than before and fiercer in its criticism. It pretends to hold you to new standards, only to use what you have learned to increase your guilt. He stops us here and he said, have you noticed that? The mind always wants more. You'll stumble across a new goal or perhaps intentionally create one, and the mind will tell you, this is it. This is love. This is it. This is everything I've been seeking. This is purpose. This is realization. This is awakening. And then you seek to understand it. And then you go about attempting to wrap the mind around it, to learn it. And then once you believe that you have, the mind tosses it aside and says, okay, so what? That's it. Next. It will create a further series of next for you to attain. And then once you reach it, it'll say, well, that wasn't good enough, do more. Okay, let's continue on midway through 219. It says, let's see where we were. Thus it wins in daily battles and works for your final abdication, the day that you give up and admit defeat. It challenges your right to happiness and love and miracles and seeks only to have you claim that living with such fantasies does not work and will not ever be possible here. Into this battlefield you have bravely marched. The war rages day by day, and by night you have grown weary. Your heart cries for solace and does not go unheard. Help is here. 2.21 says, you do not believe that all you have learned will not do what it was given you to do. You do not believe in your failure or the ego's success. Oh, it says, do not believe in your failure or the ego's success. He stops us here and says, That's an important verse in this text, because every time your ego seeks to attain something and tell you this is the way, and when you feel that roller coaster right up to the top, it'll soon be on its way down. And then it'll tell you that that's not enough. Don't believe either one. Either feeling leaves you empty, he says, longing for more or feeling less. That's not the miracle. That's not love. Continuing forth, midway through 2.21, it says, all you have learned is still with you, regardless of your perception of the outcome of your learning. Your perception of an outcome within your control is all that needs to change. Remember that cause and effect are one. What you want to learn, you cannot fail to learn. 2.22 says, we will begin by working on a state of neutrality in which the war is no longer fought, the daily battle ceases. Who wins and who loses is not of concern to us here. Peace has not yet come, but the white flag of surrender has been waved and dropped upon a hollow ground where neutrality will, for a short time, reign before peace breaks out with great rejoicing. He stops us here and he said, you see, that neutrality is the first thing you'll feel. A feeling of non-attachment towards winning or losing, attaining or not attaining, understanding or not understanding. And that's how you know peace is right around the corner. 2.23 says, there are no plunders to be treasured, no victors of this war. All that has been learned and learned again is that this is what you do not want. He stops us here and says, this being the striving, the roller coaster going up the track slowly, the fight for things. And then the roller coaster reaches the top and plummets down quickly, only to cause you to want that big fight to go up again, to attain something again. This is the battle. This is something that you can't win. You just stop fighting and striving. The remainder of 2.23 says, freedom to return home, away from cries of agony, defeat, and vainglory, is all that now is sought. A state of neutrality is where the return begins. He stops us here and says that's the return to love. Continuing forth, it says, armies may not yet be marching home, but their preparation is underway. Right. Let's go on to chapter 3, at least for the first verse. It says, love is. It teaches by being what it is. It does not do anything. It does not strive. It neither succeeds nor fails. It is neither alive nor dead, and thus it always was and always will be. It is not particular to you as human beings. It is in relationship to everything, all to all. 3.2 says, just as true knowledge cannot be learned, love cannot be learned, and you cannot be learned. All that you desire and cannot learn is already accomplished. It is accomplished in you. It is you. Imagine the ocean or the cheetah, the sun or the moon or God himself attempting to learn what they are. They are the same as you. All exist within you. You are the universe itself. He stops us there and says, just remember that awakening is a realization, not an attainment. That's the first step to this memory. All right, guys, we'll end here and continue on with chapter 3 tomorrow morning around the same time. I'll see you very, very, very soon. I love you.